All right, so let's check out how to solve systems of equations by using a table. So you can see we have a system here for number one. So we have two equations, happen to be linear equations, right? So we have the both to the first power, no other operations going on with the variables besides just multiplication, addition, subtraction. Okay, and we don't have any variables multiplied together. All right, so if we're using a table, what we want to do is we want to plug in some x values here, and then we want to see if the y values match up. Okay, or we want to find out when the y values match up. So one good thing to do when you're making a table is probably to set them both or set them equal to y, or get y by itself, right? Just put them in slope-intercept form, in other words. So this one's already done, right? So that's pretty easy to plug in. If I plug in something for x, then it spits out what y is, right? So I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Okay, I'll bring it over here. So I'll get, these will cancel out. So negative 2y equals negative x. And then I'll divide both sides by negative 2. And so I'll get y equals negative divided by a negative is a positive. So it'll just be 1x over 2, or just x over 2. You could write it as 1/2 x if you wanted to. Okay, so all right. So let's see. Now I'm going to start plugging in values. So I'm just going to call this my y1 and this my y2. Okay, but you can call them, you can switch that up. So just make sure you know which one's which. So now I'm going to start plugging in values. So I'm going to start with 0 because 0 is a super easy thing to plug in. So if I plug in 0 to y1, I get 0 divided by 2, right? So I get 0 divided by 2 for y1, which equals 0. And then for y2 here, I get 2 times 0 minus 3. So that'll be 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. Okay. All right. So those don't match up, right? We're looking to see when these match up, and that didn't happen. So we want to keep going. So we want to plug in 1. So then I'm going to do 1 over 2, which is 1/2. And then for the other function, I'll do 2 times 1 minus 3. So that's 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. So don't match up yet. So then I'm going to plug in 2. So I would get 2 over 2 here, which is 1, right? And then let me put that in here. And so for the y2, we would get 2 times 2 minus 3. So that's 4 minus 3, which is 1. So here we got a match, right? So that's the solution to the system. So the system would, the solution would be that point. So when x equals 2, y equals 1. All right. So another way you could say that is x equals 2, y equals 1, right? All right, so that's how you use a table. So you just kind of go through and find out where they're the same. Now, downside, this could take anywhere from 3 steps like we just did, three rounds, or it could, take forever, right? Like we don't have, there's not really a limit to how long this could take. The other thing is, maybe what if they're negatives, right? We're starting at 0 and going up. What if they end up being in the negative realm, right? So you kind of have to take some, maybe some guessing and checking, maybe some trial and error on this in this process, and maybe take some intuition to kind of make sure that you aren't going too far in one direction, or kind of on a wild goose chase where you're not gonna find the answer anytime soon. So anyway, so try to be systematic about it. One thing that we see here is see how the numbers are getting closer together: 0, negative 3, 1/2, negative 1, and so and then finally 1, 1. So you can kind of get a sense if you're going too far in one direction, then maybe go back and try some negatives and things like that. All right, so another thing you can do is if you're going to use a table, you can use your graphing calculator to help you out, and that's a more efficient way to use a table, and maybe a way to, just so you don't, a more systematic way to do it, because your calculator will just produce all those values, and then you can just identify where they match up. So if you want to use your calculator, we'll do number 2 with the calculator. The first thing is you still want to solve for y. You still want to get them to slope-intercept form, because that's how we input these equations into our calculator. So for this first one, I'm going to subtract x from both sides again, and so we'll end up with 2y equals negative x plus 4, right? And then I'm going to divide everything by 2, and so I get y equals negative x over 2, or 1/2 x, however you want to think of it, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we'll call that our y1. Okay, for the y2, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides, and so we'll get negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 1, right? Then I'm going to divide everything by negative 3, and so we get y equals positive 2/3 x, right? Negative divided by negative is positive, minus 1/3. Okay, so we'll call this y2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to input these in our calculator. So we're going to go to the y equals menu and put this one in as y1 and this one in as y2. Okay, so try this along with me. All right, so this is what it'll look like. Now, one thing to make sure that you do is make sure you turn off plot 1. So to do that, you just use the up arrow, select plot 1 and push enter, and then it should unhighlight it. Okay, so make sure that all those are off. Going back to your going back to what we did the other day. Now, another thing to do that you may want to do when you're graphing these is go to zoom 6, zoom and then 6, and that gets you back to a standard window. So and then you'll be able to see the graph if you want to. But right now we want to see a table. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go second and then window, and that's table set. And we want to make sure that that it starts at 0 and then the delta table is 1. Okay, usually that's default, so that should be the case already. After that, just go second and then mode, which is quit, and that'll get you out of there. Okay, all right, so then we want to go second table. So push second and then table, or second graph, and that gives you the table, and you'll see a table that's already done for you on the calculator. All right, so the nice thing about this is you can scroll up and down, right? So you can scroll up and down and check different values, but we want to see where does y1 and y2 match up, right? And we see that they actually match up at 2. Right, at x equals 2. So this one actually has the same solution as the last one, 2, 1, right? When x equals 2, they both equal 1. All right, so that's our answer for this one. So that's how to use your calculator table to find solutions to equations. All right, so still is a little bit problematic because, once again, we might have to scroll way up, way down. The other thing is, what if we have an answer that's like 0.5, right? And we can't see that on there, so we have to watch out for those type of things.